Welcome to Module 10, Lesson 2, Evaluating Expressions. Today we're going to talk about how to evaluate an expression at a specific value of a variable. All right, so here we go. Excuse me. So for example 1, we're just going to look at one-step expressions. And when we are evaluating expressions, we do what we call substituting. So we are replacing the variable. So you see here we have the expression x minus 9 and x is equal to 15. So we're given what the variable is equal to. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute wherever we see x, we are going to substitute 15 for that x. So now the expression becomes 15 minus 9 and we can solve and we get 6 as our answer. All right, so for the next problem, we have the expression 16 divided by n, where n is equal to 8. So we substitute 8 for the n, and the expression becomes 16 divided by 8, and we get a solution of 2. So all we're doing here is we're saying, okay, well, our expression is 5/10 times y. We know that y is equal to 1 4/10. So we're replacing the variable with that new number. Now remember, this doesn't become 0 and 514 thousandths. This becomes a multiplication problem. So a multiplication sign goes in between our two numbers. So this becomes 0 and 5/10 times, excuse me, 1 and 4/10, and we get 0 and 7/10. Here we have 6 times k. So even though the 6 and the k are connected, this doesn't become 61 divided by 3. This becomes 6 times 1/3. So 6 times 1/3. And when you do 6 times 1/3, you get 2. So again, all you're doing is following the directions. We're given the expression 6 times k. We're given the direction that k is equal to 1/3. So wherever we see k, we replace it with 1/3. And then we solve. All right, so you have a couple of problems here. I want you to go ahead and pause and try them on your own, and when you come back, we'll check your answers. All right, so you should have gotten here 32, 4 7/10, and 3, because you should have seen that you do 4 times x, which would have been 4 times 8, and that would have given you 32. And then here you would have done 6 and 5/10 minus 1 and 8/10, and that would have given you 4 and 7/10. And then here you would have done 18, and you would have divided that, because 18 over 6 means 18 divided by 6, and that would have given you 3. All right, so let's go and look at some problems that are more than one step. So here we're going to evaluate each expression, and we're given the variable again, or we're given the value of the variable, but now we have more than one step. So now we actually have to follow the order of operations. That doesn't mean anything changes. That just means that now we have more than one step. So now we have to be a little bit more careful and make sure that we do the right steps at the right time. So again, the first thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that I substitute and I put in the right number in the right spot. So everywhere that I see an x, I have to replace it with a 7. So my expression becomes 4 times the quantity 7 minus 4. Because where there was an x, now there has to be a 7. According to the order of operations, I have to do what's inside the parentheses first. So first I have to do 7 minus 4, which gives me 3. When I see a number connected to parentheses, that means that I multiply those two things. So I do 4 times 12, or times 3, which gives me, you guessed it, 12. Right, so again, nothing changes. I'm still substituting my value in replacement of my variable. And then I solve using my order of operations. So we're using what we learned in previous modules to help us solve to find the right answer. All right, so here we have sort of the same problem, but you'll notice that our parentheses are gone. So I want you to take a guess right now. Do you think we'll get the same answer or a different answer? All right, the first step remains the same. We still have to replace the x with a 7. So remember, this becomes 4 times 7. A big mistake that students make is that they put the 7 there and think that it becomes 47. This means 4 times x. So this gets replaced and it becomes 4 times 7 minus 4. Well, 4 times 7 gets done first. Remember, up here we did 7 minus 4 first. So our answer is going to be different because we get 28 right off the bat. And then I do 28 minus 4, which gives me 24. So not having those parentheses made a big difference in my answer. All right, if you look at C, we have 3 different variables now. That shouldn't freak you out, because now what that means is you just have to pay really close attention to where you're putting your values. So here you'll notice that you have w minus x plus y, where w equals 6, x equals 5, and y equals 3. So wherever you see a w, you have to replace it with a 6. Wherever you see an x, you have to substitute a 5. And wherever you see a y, you have to substitute a 3. So now instead of w minus x plus y, you should get 6 minus 5 plus 3. So 6 gets substituted for the w, 5 gets substituted for the x, and y gets substituted for, 3 gets substituted for the y. Now we follow our order of operations. Again, a big mistake that students make is they do the addition first. That's not the case. Addition and subtraction get done in the same step, so we work our way from left to right. So I subtract first, doing 6 minus 5, which is 1, and 1 plus 3 gives me 4. So the answer in this case is 4. For this next one, I have 2 x's here, so I'm going to have to substitute twice. All right, so everywhere where I see an x, I have to substitute 9. So here, I end up with 9 squared minus 9. So first I have to do 9 squared, which gives me 81. So I have 81 minus 9, and 81 minus 9 gives me 72. So my solution in this case is 72. Again, all you're doing is substituting the value that they give you for the variable that it's equal to. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and solve. But you have to make sure that you're following that order of operations or your solution will not come out correctly. All right, so now you have 6 problems that I'd like you to go through and try on your own. Be careful for numbers 7, 8, and 9. Notice you have A, B, and C. They each have their own values. When you come back, you can check your answers. All right, so you should have come up with 18, 18, 55, 6, 39, and 17. So for number 4, you would have come up with 3 times 5 plus 1, which would have been 3 times 6, which is 18. For number 5, you have 4 times 5 minus 4 plus 14, which would have been 4 times 1 plus 14. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 14 is 18. Number 6, so it would be 6, again, 6 times 5 plus 5 squared. So remember, this doesn't become 65. This is 6 times 5. Okay, so we have 6 times 5 plus 25, because exponents get done first. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 25 gives you 55. Number 7, you have A times B minus C. Well, A is equal to 3. B is equal to 4, so you have 3 times 4 minus C, which is 6. 3 times 4 is 12, minus 6 is 6. B times C, well, B is equal to 4 times C, which is equal to 6, plus 5 times A, and A is equal to 3. Notice, I set it all up before I start trying to solve. Here I get 24 plus 15. 24 plus 15 gives me 39. Here I have A cubed. A is equal to 3, and that's being cubed, minus the quantity B plus C. B is equal to 4 plus C, which is equal to 6. Okay, I have to do what's inside of the parentheses first, so I have 3 cubed minus 10. 3 cubed, so remember 3 cubed means 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, minus 10 is 17. All right, so hopefully from that, if you made any mistakes, you were able to see where your mistake was and fix it. If you're unsure, please make sure to circle it and ask questions when you come back to class. All right, so here we have an expression where we see that the expression 1 8/10 times C plus 32 gives the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit for a given temperature in degrees Celsius, C. This tells us that degrees Celsius is represented by the variable C in the expression. All right, that's what that means when you see this followed by a variable. Find the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit that is equivalent to 30 degrees Celsius. So the question here, or what we're asked to do, is find the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit that is equivalent to 30 degrees Celsius. My important numbers: 30, and then of course 1 8/10 Celsius plus 32. And it is incredibly important to note that this is degrees Celsius, because that tells me that this number here, 30, is actually going to get plugged in for the C in degrees Celsius in my expression. So I'm going to bring my expression down, and I'm actually going to plug in 30 where the C was, because C represents the degrees Celsius, and the degrees Celsius in this case is 30. My first step is to multiply 1 8/10 times 30, which gives me 54. I add 54 plus 32, and I get 84. So my answer in this case is that 30 degrees Celsius is equal to 84 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so when they give you the expression, all you have to do is find the correct number and plug it into your expression and find your answer. Okay, so here you're given the expression. What I'd like you to do is take a moment and pause, find your answer, and when you come back, we'll check your answers. All right, so here you should have found that your answers were 24 meters squared, and your volume was 8 meters cubed, and here that you were at 420 seconds. Okay. Because 6 times x squared gave you the surface area. Okay. And that x cubed gave you the volume. And the surface area and the volume of a cube with a side length of 2 meters. So you would take 6 times 2 squared. So it would be 6. Oops, gotta take my exponent here off. So it would be 6 times 4, which was 24. So that was your surface area for number 1. And then here, it's x cubed, so 2 cubed. Remember, cubed means 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. The big mistake is kids do 2 times 3. That's not the case. Or they forget sometimes they do 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 6. Go slow. Here you have 60m gives the number of seconds in m minutes, and you have 7 minutes. So you have 60m, you have 7 minutes, so you take 60 and you replace the m with 7. 6 times 7 is 42. Add on that extra 0 and you have 420 seconds. All right, and please remember that you are going to do your guided practice next, but you are doing your guided practice on Go Math. You can do these for extra practice, but your guided practice should be done on Go Math. If you have any questions, please be sure to write them down or email me so we can go over them in class.